All right, so checking out a set of cheap coilovers. Are they worth it? All right, so don't mind the mess. Basically what we got here is max heating rods. I've already taken them out of the box, but I figured I'd show you how they have them packed. This is a pretty thick piece of cardboard. They have this, and then they put a piece on the top, and that's pretty much how they are installed or shipped in the box. So this is what we got. They come in a bag. Some adjustment collars there across the top. There should be a bolt that goes in here. I'm not sure where it's at. Haven't found it yet. But that is the, what would that be? That'd be driver rear right there because of where this is located here for the sway bar. But basically this is what they look like when they come. Our rears, our fronts. Okay. So there's the front. These are universal from side to side. Adjustment on the bottom. Looks like that in here. There's the top. You can see they actually have their insignia on there. I'm taking off of a set of, these are wasp coils. One of these actually is leaking oil in this driver's rear. They're just older and they were a cheaper set of coils. Wasn't able to find much information on these. They did have adjustment to them, you know, so you could adjust the bound and rebound, changing the ride height here a little bit, I believe, and getting these things installed. I'm going to go over everything. Let's see how these install in comparison to, like I said, a BC's, or I actually installed a set of the man, I don't even know what the brand name is. They look like Coils. They don't really install like Coils, but they got like that dark maroon color. I just didn't like them. The two sets of those that I had installed for people. The cheaper coils work. How long and how good of a quality they are is something we'll know. Having driven stuff with BC's, Racelands, and you know, I usually don't get a chance to drive stuff with the cheaper coilovers to do any kind of a comparison, but we'll have that here. All right, so obviously you need to jack your car up. I just have the quick jack, so it makes this a little bit easier. All four are up at one time. You're gonna want to remove your wheel, and then you can start to remove the strut. These here just happen to have 13 mil bolts on, so we're gonna pop those off. Then down here, these are 21, so we're gonna pop those off out of the way. Sometimes you gotta tap them out with a hammer. Then we can get our existing coil off, and then I'll show you what you got to do to set the other one up just like it so that you can reinstall it. So this is just something that I typically like to do. I just use some anti-seize. I've seen, it doesn't matter what brand it is, BC coilovers, Racelands, you know, these, who knows, these might not even spin off of here. The issue is they'll get seized in here from the weather, and then you end up not being able to spin. This is like one of the first ones I've actually taken apart that was new, that actually had some type of oil on there. But regardless of the situation, I'm still going to take some of this. I need to get the one with the brush, and then I'm gonna brush it on here lightly, and then I can screw this thing on. Then I know either that or I can stick it in here. But usually I like to cover the threads on the strut body because one, it will help it keep it from rusting, and two, you know, you'll be able to make any kind of adjustment that you need to with the strut down the road. And then when that's together, I'm basically going to hold it next to the other one here, and then I'll set the length of it the same here, and then I'll lock it in, and then we can install it, which will retain the alignment that was here. I'll have to loosen and adjust the top plate also, I believe, so that it's in farther. But I can kind of get a little bit of a measurement once I look at the top of the head of the coil on the other ones. So like I said, try to get everything set back up so that the alignment's really close. Most of the time you can get away with that and you don't have to worry about getting another alignment. So I'm going to get some anti-seize. Alright, so while I was doing one, I took it as a good idea to do the second one. I kind of just measured off of, I flattened these tops out the best I could, which, you know, is never going to be perfect, and then measured down to the bottom of this hole here, and then kind of did the same thing here to kind of get a basic setup on the first one. And then actually what I did was I came in here underneath that, because that should be better of a place, and just measured down to the top of this right here, and pretty much just matched them up. So both of the fronts are set. You can see, like I said, I removed these. These are both covered with anti-seize. When I get them installed, I'll probably hit that more. But if you've ever messed with this stuff, if you touch it, you end up touching this and touching that, and it gets everywhere. So we're actually ready to install these. So I'll turn this the right way on the top, like that. We'll remove our nuts. Basically all I'm going to do is just reach this thing right up in here. Same way the other one came out. Do is just line these up. Well, these didn't have any seize on. Well, sometimes it's easier to get the bottom one in first. Alright, because you can push in on the top and then get the top bolt in. See, end up with this stuff all over the place. Alright, now that that's in, we'll have to tighten that up. And then here's what our top plate looks like. You can kind of read what the name is here. Basically, this is in. I'm going to tighten everything down, lock it in, and I'm going to do the other side just like I did this, and then we'll catch up when we're at the rear. We have our front finished. Plate is pretty bad right here, but this is the one that was leaking. I'm getting ready to remove them off of the rear. I like to undo the rear brake caliper and lift it out of the way. I'll do that on both sides, and then I will undo the sway bar bracket, and that will make it a lot easier for me to undo the lower bolts down here, which is a 15 on one side is the nut side and an 18 on the other. And then inside the car there is the 3 top bolts, which will be back in here, and then we can pop this thing down off. Hopefully I can get at this sway bar here with a 13 from the bottom, and I'll just buzz that right there and put the wrench on the top. Like I said, we're going to undo both sides of the sway bar, and then we have a 15 and an 18 here. We have all the tools that we need, including doing this by power. You can also do this by hand. It is pretty easy. I use a 10 mil wrench to get the bolts out. Like I said, you see me just slide this off. That's pretty easy. All right, I'm going to get the sway bar end links undone. All right, so now with the coil removed, sometimes these bolts come out a little hard. You got to tap them out. I'll like to take a hammer this way, and then I hit the other hammer sometimes to knock them out. So now that that is removed, we're going to go up here and do exactly what we did with the front. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to get anti-seize on here. And then we're going to take a measurement from there down and set this at about the same ride height as that one. Okay, and I'm going to make the other one match. That way both are done at the same time, and then all I have to do is install them. This is kind of the first time I've ever seen this. But I measured out the spring, and I made the springs match on both sides and locked them in. And then measured from the plate down to here. So they're set at the same length right there. Okay. So we did the other one. There is anti-seize underneath the lower. Now with any of these aftermarket ones, even sometimes with the BCs, your upper plate where this goes is not flat. It'll actually sit like this, up like that. All right. A lot of these, when you go to tilt them, they don't tilt that far. I've had some already when they were tilted, they'll actually hit this, and then you can't spin this to adjust it when it's installed. These seem to be all right when you tilt. Nothing's hitting here. You know, maybe I could, if I wanted to try to get a little bit more out of this, I could take some off the bottom of these Allen bolts here, grind a little bit off of those, and then this edge here on this nut is actually hitting right there, and that's what's stopping it more from actually tilting. If you needed to, you could probably get in there and get some of that out of the way. But basically, grab your coil, stick it down between the control arm, stick it up in. This is always fun by yourself. Get your two lower holes lined up. I like to set it like this when I'm by myself, because it'll actually hold itself up in. And it kind of helps because of the angle that the plate is on. So you can get up in there. Like I said, it's never easy, never fun. So I'm gonna go up top, reach my hand in, get my nuts started. I found bolts. They're just the standard size, so I'm using the ones. Okay, so I think we're actually gonna run into that problem with this thing fitting up the way it is. This is all the farther this thing pushes in. And I'll tell you what, I've had this problem with the other cheaper coils, and it's just, I guess it's just part of the problem. I'm gonna try grinding those bolt heads off like I'd showed, and see if it allows me to get enough tilt out of this thing, and then we'll do the same to the other side, and we'll get this thing installed the right way. All right, so this is the bottom of the plate. All I'm gonna do is I'm going to take and grind that even with this, and then the bolt that goes on here, if you take a look at the other one, it's actually rounded here and there's no edge for it to hit. So I'm going to do the same with this one. We got all four are ground off on the bottom, and if you take a look, I did grind that right there. Is actually looking pretty good. All right, so that's all off of there. It actually looks like that one instead of the rounded one. Let's go see how this thing fits up. All right, see, this is actually giving us a much straighter angle, so that we can get this thing fitted in. Let's see if we can get this thing in here now. Try to get you sitting here, but for some reason it don't want to work. There we go. All right, now you can put a jack under here. I'm just gonna stick my knee, push in on this, and look, we can get the whole way up in. Should have already had these ready to go. There's one right there. Right through. Okay, so that gave us everything we needed right there to be able to get the coilover mounted in correctly. I'm going to do that to the other side and then get everything bolted down into place here and tightened up. I'll probably stick a little zip tie on the ABS sensor here. Let's get the other one in. Put a little bit of silver goo on there. Neither one of these nuts were right on this, so I don't know what happened there, but I'm going to get the correct nuts that are supposed to go on here. Put them on. I'll get this side tightened up, and we'll get the other one together, and I'll probably, since this worked, I'll show you what I did to cut the nuts down. And yeah, these coils like this, you'll know what to do. All right, so I'm removing the top plate with this. Just make sure you don't have a lot of spring pressure onto this, and it will like lift right up off. In the top of here there is this little sleeve. You can see it's offset, slides down in the bearing in the top. Okay, so now that we have that off, I have this angle grinder like this. You could probably get away with using you know, one of these, you know, whether it's air powered, and grind that off. If you have a way to safely hold this, you could use one of the larger electric 3-inch grinders, just pretty much anything right now. And then you could cut these off, and it will actually allow this to pivot when it's on top of here. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my safety glasses right here. I'm just going to show you what I did here for one of these. Just kind of came in here from the side. Try to keep the stuff out of my toolbox. All right, so that's all we did there. I'll have to do the rest of those. I took a pair of vice grips. I just clamped this on the side. All right, and then I took my cutoff wheel and I lined it up with the side of the bolt. Held it with my thumb. This is not exactly safe, okay? Okay, cut the end off, and then when that pivots up, it won't hit the end of that. Kind of clean it up a little bit, just like that. All right, so I'm gonna walk outside just so I don't have to breathe this stuff. It's kind of what I did last time, and I'm gonna cut all of these edges all the way off of this bolt, and I'm gonna cut these other 3 here off, and then we'll be able to reinstall coilover the right way. All right, so everything's installed. I tightened up the end links. It's definitely something that needs to be addressed with the the nuts and the bolts on these coilovers to make them work. I think right now, just by looking at this, I do need to bring the ass end of the car up just a little bit, about a 1/2 inch, based on the wheel lip. It's about a 1/2 inch difference from front to rear on the lip. But it's, if someone wants it to look like it doesn't have rake, there's actually rake here from this body line to here, but that's flattened out, and I think that's why that they had the last one set up that way. So we'll have to take this thing for a test drive and see how it looks. See if the suspension settles at all. The front does look good. The rear does look a little low. So we'll just have to go from there. But man, I'll tell you what. Not something you would expect to have to do to be able to get that plate to lay over to fit in there would be to grind that nut off. All they would have needed to do was just put the right nut on. You know, this one here actually looks like it's made with the collar that goes down into the center bearing. All right. Hopefully that was worth watching. If you made it this far, thanks. And yeah, we'll see how these cheap coilovers work.